right. This is a hot drop in. I usually have like a 5-minute intro, guys. So this is a little bit new. We're popping in live. We're doing it through Riverside because we got 4 people on like multiple continents, coming in here, and we're going to have an awesome conversation today about Juno. I need to look and see what our actual picture looks like at this moment so I can know how people are viewing us. Okay. So Jake, believe it or not, you're not showing up on the stream because you don't have the video, but that's okay. Jake, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm live from an alley cafe in Berlin, so that's why my video isn't working.
No worries about it. I think the best part about it is you're from an alley in Berlin. That's definitely the coolest among the 3 live pictures. We got like closets. There's a black picture behind me. There's like a bear or something behind Rob. It's we got stuff going on. So anyway, Rob helped set this up. As you guys may know, we're going to go around and do some introductions here, but Rob Highlander has really personally indoctrinated me into Cosmos, the interchain, and specifically Juno years ago, like right as Juno was starting, really pulled me onto it and helped bring on a community, and our community became a big part of that. Juno's obviously had some ups and downs over the past couple of years. I think we would all agree. And so we're excited about a conversation for the future here. I have been stalking the 2 of you, Reece and Jake, on your interviews and everything you've been doing online and talking about the future, and also with Rob. So I'm super pumped to get into that. But let's go in my view, which is clockwise. Let's jump over to Highlander. Highlander, if you wouldn't mind giving an intro, and then we'll go to DAO Maximalist Jake, and then obviously to Reece, and then we'll get started here.
Hey, how you doing? Good to be back on the newly named Plus EV community. So
that's right.
I'm still here in Juno, still grafting away. With the birth of SubDAOs, we made the decision we took the marketing sort of side of Juno and turned it into a SubDAO, which became Communication SubDAO. I've just been full on with that recently and trying to get aligned with Reece and Jake and all the other Core 1 members and sort of paint a picture of what we're trying to achieve and just try and unify the community and give them the same message out there. And yeah, I think we're turning a screw. It's tough times, but do you know what? It's great fun, man. Let's keep going.
Absolutely. And you have the best accent of anyone I've met in crypto too. So that's always a plus. Good to have you. I love it.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much. Likewise.
Of course. And Jake, everybody kind of knows you, but if you wouldn't mind for maybe the uninitiated, would you give a little intro on yourself here?
Yeah, sure. My name is DAO Maximalist, and I've started a couple of projects, one of which is Juno, obviously. I also helped start DAO with many other great people that are also Juno developers. So, I'm happy to be here.
Perfect.
Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I think the iPods are pretty good at isolating noise, but other people are talking.
No, it's actually it's better than I expected from an alley in Berlin. That's pretty solid. Thank you for that intro there.
I'll turn the camera on in a bit, but for a nice reveal. But we'll save that for later to give people a reason to watch.
Beautiful. Look for the tease. This guy's done live shows before. He's putting the tease in early. I love it. Now, Reece, pop in. Let us know about you.
Yeah, so I'm the newest member to Juno. I lead the core development, so anything on the protocol, as well as scaling up infrastructure, writing technical articles for upgrades and things like that. So as well as managing validators for these upgrades and making sure that those go smoothly as well as quickly. So I kind of do everything on the back end from a protocol perspective of what keeps Juno running, security patches, anything along those lines, as well as what can we scale out and in coordinating with different teams, including upstream, to make sure that Juno is the best that it can be at the current moment.
I love it. That's a great intro. So we got comms, we got co-founder, we got backend, you got everything you want to hear about Juno. So as we get into this, I have Restream chat up, which should give me chat from every single place we're streaming right now, which is 4 different places. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat. I'll try to circle them in as they occur. But let's kind of jump in here. So everyone, I'm not going to rehash what's happened with Juno, from the major pump into the $40, then down to where we are and all that drama. But, Jake, I spent a lot of time, DAO Maximalist. I spent a lot of time watching your interviews over the past couple months and the things you've been working on, talking about DAOs. And I want to start that off with sort of a hot take question, okay? Because after listening to you, I was excited. But when I first heard DAO Maximalist, I want to be in DAOs, sort of had like DAOs, really? That's where we're going with this. But after hearing you explain it, it's like we need a different word. So can you talk to me about like DAO maximalism and why you're excited for that and what that means for you and the Juno? Because it's a bit of a pivot. And so if you wouldn't mind expanding on that a bit.
I'm not sure if it's so much of a pivot, but I will explain. DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations. It's a fancy word, right? What DAOs are is really like governance that is implemented by a computer program. And there's like probably a lot of like, there's always a hype cycle to every technology, and right now we're in the AI hype cycle. There was like a small DAO hype cycle, but like DAOs are kind of like, everyone's down on DAOs right now. But they shouldn't be, because I think DAOs are actually the future of organizations, and that how we structure those organizations, maybe we'll wind up structuring them more like actual companies, right? Like, I think that's something that like turns people off of DAOs, is like that they're oftentimes have like a very flat kind of structure, but they don't have to be that way. And DAOs are exciting because like ultimately it's a like at the end of the day, the only moat in crypto is community and building communities. And so one of the reasons why I thought DAO was one of the most important things to build on Juno, like when we started this chain, was because I felt that if we were going to have this like permissionless smart contract chain, we needed ways for people to come together and form like communities, like in the chain, and that we needed governance tools for the protocols that would launch. And you know, with that comes things like fundraising tools and stuff as well. So if we want to, like, you know, I use a bunch of different taglines to describe my vision for Juno, but one of which is the incubator for the interchain. And if we're going to really make that work, we need excellent governance tooling. We need, you know, fundraising tools for projects. We need easy ways for them to come together and like, you know, set up an organization and do stuff with it. So DAO like aims to like kind of provide those things.
Yeah. And first off, that's an excellent explanation. I know I kind of set you up for that question awkwardly, but let me give you.
Yeah, I mean, like I know a lot of people don't get it, right? Because like they're like, how do DAOs make money? It's like, well, each DAO is going to have a different answer to that, right? At the end of the day, again, it's all about building community to me. So one of the things that, you know, Reece and I have been like working to start, and I'm hoping to like actually officially launch it with like Hackwasm, but Leet Society or 1337 Society, you might have heard of this. It is a society of like the best like Cosmwasm developers, and we're all getting together, and we have kind of like a guild structure. So there's like masters, super experienced people, there's journeymen, people that are trying to work to prove themselves, build something awesome so they can become a master. And then we also have apprentices as well, which are just like beginners, noobs that are just learning stuff. And you know, it's about creating culture that can like mentor the next generation of builders. And like, when does this pay off? Probably months from now. Probably starts paying off months from now. But like, I think it pays off dividends. Like I come from the Ethereum ecosystem, and what they got right at the beginning was just like culture and like creating communities of developers. And then on top of, you know, what the developers build, there's like also other communities of investors, communities of people, nonprofits. Like DAOs are just fundamental tools for organizing. And, you know, if we can become really good at being a DAO, launching DAOs, being a home for DAOs, like, then that's an exciting thing.
Yeah, 100%. And really what turned me around on this, because I'll be honest, like when I was like, DAOs, all right, DAOs are cool. But you know what my experience for DAOs has been? Voting on, you know, props, okay, on you know, when all the stuff was going on with the Juno whale and even on Ethereum and other things. And it's like, oh my gosh, snooze. And then you actually look at DAO and you go, wow, this is like, I think of it as like a way to incorporate a company and have everything be ready, set, and just like, hey, here, you can organize, set up, boom, you want comms, you want dev, you want whatever. And you can organize everything really interestingly. But what actually blew my mind a little bit, and this is where I want to get into it's a little bit deeper. You talked about launching on Juno and taking it into the interchain and how you can essentially use the tools you're building, you know, with Polytone, and obviously mesh security is totally different, but to launch and test on Juno and then take it into the interchain, all controlled with a DAO. And that doesn't, as someone, look, I'm not a tech guy, and you probably know that by my questions already, but that was hard for me to conceptualize. And I was like, okay, now that's pretty interesting because that brings people and money in to execute their vision easier. Is that what you mean by interchain incubator and allowing people to come in and try and then just move out?
Yeah, definitely. Like we have to like embrace what's strong about Juno, which is like its experimental nature. Like Juno is a cutting edge, very experimental chain. And this is, you know, oftentimes your strengths are also your biggest weaknesses
Sure.
as well. But you know, it's always good to play to your strengths. So like, and then I think, you know, the other great thing about Juno is just like it's permissionless nature and it's very strong developer community. So we just have to give those. We have to create the tools to allow for like the next generation of interchain applications and even app chains to be built. And that's where mesh security comes into the story is like, you know, if we can create this like culture of builders, if we can give them the tools to launch interchain organizations, and then we can like empower them to continue a mutually beneficial economic relationship with Juno after they launch their own app chain or whatever, that's like insanely powerful. So, you know, that's I think where mesh really fits into the picture is like if we are going to do this incubator for the interchain thing, and you know we have some success with this already. Like so, Passage they launched their marketplace on Juno, and they're going to be launching their own app chain. Well, now you know by like end of Q3, like they're going to be able to like have mesh security as an option, so they can continue that mutually beneficial economic relationship with Juno. Juno stakers will be able to cross stake to help secure the Passage chain and vice versa, and that like fundamentally like aligns our communities at the economic level, and that's something that we're missing in the current like Cosmos ecosystem. There's not really good ways of aligning these very disparate app chains, and I think mesh security is a great chance to kind of change the equation there. And I think it'll also be something that can be very profitable for like chains that are at the start of the mesh wave, right? I actually want to add incentives for mesh staking to Juno users because I want to get 100% of Juno staked or cross staked. The reason is that means Juno is a more powerful like mesh security chain, and we have more to offer like chains that you know might be utilizing mesh security. And I think that something that's going to be very popular very soon is the concept of a mesh drop. So instead of doing an airdrop, you might do a little bit of an airdrop, but you offer very high mesh security like rewards to like kind of bootstrap the chain and like distribute the initial token. So I think mesh drops are going to be a really cool option. But yeah, those are kind of some of my like highlight. I could rant about this stuff for a really long time.
Look, but, I like it because it helps me get an understanding for where you see the future going. And obviously something you've just alluded to, and I'm going to get back to you a little bit further, is a lot of the stuff that I've heard you talk about. And like, Reece, I know you were working on, pulling in, Kusama and the Polkadot people and finding liquidity to bring in. I want to talk to you about that too. And kind of what you're working on that level. But a lot of it, I hear it and I go, man, this is really freaking cool. And then like any person who owns a lot of Juno, I go, okay, and how does that make me more money? I mean, like, I don't want to be that crass about it, but a little bit of how does this all pull forward? So Reece, I know you're working on quite a bit of stuff that's bringing in more people. Would you mind talking about, either the connections you've been making to other chains and kind of your role in this as well?
Yeah, so this next upgrade, which was originally supposed to be one, was actually so large that we had to split it up into 3 separate upgrades. So we're getting the first one. I'll be getting that up on testnet later this week. This upgrades us from an older version of the Cosmos SDK, the software development kit, to the latest version that is currently like public and out ready for use. So I spent a lot of time migrating everything over, and this allows us to use the latest features of IBC and to now also connect over to the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystem through composable finance, like natively through a custom COSM WASM client is what it's called. So that was built out by the Strangelove team. I've done all the work on Juno to get us ready for that.
Awesome.
And then that should be in IBC hopefully in like August. So we'll have another upgrade then to upgrade that. And then also another thing paired with that will be to migrate Core 1 vesting accounts to controlled by the community account. So the team, we've got a lot of different avenues that we're trying to pull in at the same time, both from the technical side as well as from the community side. And we're trying to put those all into this next pair of upgrades there. So a lot of great stuff to come.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, anytime you can pull in more people and find ways for this to all work cohesively, I guess, has always been one of my big issues. One of the nice things that I heard from Jake, and I think Reece, I've heard you comment on it too, is UI is such a big part of this. It's one of the things that I think that DAO has done very well is that, I'm not a tech guy. I can get in and fumble my way around for a vote, but it's kind of hard to manage, let alone when I have accounts on 12 different chains going back and forth. How does this all work? All right, switching, blah, blah, blah. And so that becomes very confusing and difficult for front end or like beginner users. My contention has always been that Cosmos did the one thing that no one else has really done first. And I'm bringing this up because I'm going to come back to a tweet that you made recently, Reece. But the one thing they did first, in my opinion, was security, where, look, we can find ways to transfer between blockchains and not have issues, and we can kind of move back and forth where you don't necessarily get that with Ethereum or even some of the roll-ups and some of the other things that are just not well regulated. So I always felt like the interchain got that part right first, and they're trying to figure everything else out. And then it was kind of like, hey, we did it where the security was there, but no one knew how to use it. Rob, do you remember when we sat down and you were trying to explain for me how to actually buy Juno for the first time? And I was like, wait, hold on. No, I see it, but it's not here.
Yeah. When the UX, it's getting a lot better. You're trying to find some coins around, and Christ, I'm a good user, right? And I've got Juno stuck in another chain that I've managed to send the wrong way because I put the wrong channel in, and I'm quite a good user, let's be honest. Even I'm making mistakes still. Right. So we need to we need to change all that. It's very hard. To try and get someone in who doesn't know about crypto, first of all, but then try to explain them about this. It's like, we need to do a bit better.
Well, and the thing is, I bring that up to then kind of circle back to Reece to say, I hear you about, Avalanche obviously coming through, and then you have Polkadot, Kusama, and those kind of things. How hard or how easy would it be for someone like me, who's like C-level intelligence when it comes to this stuff at best, to not lose my money going back and forth? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So whenever you have to do, like, as you've heard, like talking about channels and converting all this stuff, like, even the experienced people have lost money through this, and that's a big issue. So something that I've personally been working on, as well as the TFM crew, is automatically handling those channels behind the scenes, checking for, are relayers up? Is this an actual channel? How much money has moved here in the past, say, 24 hours, to make sure that there's actually a flow there. And if that is the case, to allow you to do that transfer. And they handle everything hard on the back end of having those safety checks and things. So, things have gotten a lot better. Of course, that's still only one UI, and so you're still at risk of if their thing does something wrong, it could still be sent there. But as we continue to add more checks for these IBC transfers to ensure that it's secure both cryptographically as well as where you actually want it to go, without having to be a developer and understand all the ins and outs of how that works. So it's getting a lot better. I would say now, the likelihood of you losing money is very slim unless you're sending it to a brand new chain that has just started, in which case there's already a lot of risk there because it's brand new. So that's really where I see the most risk from as a new user, to a new chain.
Sure. And I appreciate you kind of going down that path with me.
One thing I will add, JP, is you need to explain to new users, like, Juno has a token natively to the Juno chain, right? But if you send Juno to another chain, it's not the native token of that chain. So that's what some people don't really understand that quite yet.
Yeah, I agree. And quite frankly, and you guys probably experience this too. I don't mind the Avalanche guys. I think they're fine. I think they do some good things. I think that they have their own issues. But what made Avalanche popular at the beginning was the bridge was easy and you got money over, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, look, I have, a quarter of an Avalanche in my account already. I don't have to ask somebody to send me some dust so I can do anything, or I transferred, Ethereum over and it automatically was able to work, or whatever it was. And that the bridge was what made them popular, is that it was the first scaling-ish type solution. and then you could bridge easily. And obviously, we're figuring that out here in Cosmos land as well. But
I think there's a lot more figured out than a lot of people realize. So the Axelar bridge is actually really, really great. You want to bridge native USDC or Ethereum over to Juno, just go to satellite.axelar. Or like just go to the Axelar website and they make it really easy to like bridge over tokens from mainnet Ethereum. One thing that is coming, which is going to unlock a lot of value for Cosmos, is MetaMask integration, right? MetaMask has 40 million users that are absolutely the target demographic of crypto.
Yep.
And the reason people have a hard time bridging over to Cosmos, even though I think we have much better bridging technology, I will die on that hill. It's the lack of the MetaMask integration. And so once the MetaMask integration is here, like that's the new world. So that'll be very exciting. I'm very, very, very stoked for MetaMask.
Jake, when does that due again? I'm sorry. Do you know if that's like next quarter, next month? No.
It's supposed to come this quarter, but let's just assume next quarter because developer times.
Yeah.
It requires MetaMask shipping MetaMask snaps in production. So you can actually sign stuff with MetaMask today, but you don't see token balances in your wallets. And if you don't see tokens in your wallet, then they don't exist, right?
Right.
That's a joke, but it's supposed to be Q3. So give or take a few months on top of that. So it will be a big deal for the Cosmos because again, that's like people have dealt with way shittier bridging technologies. The big barrier to entry is sort of like having to set up a Kepler wallet or some sort of Cosmos wallet in addition to their MetaMask, and we lose a lot of people at that step, right? So as soon as we have MetaMask, that's really what most people care about.
Yeah.
They use MetaMask, they trust it. Wallets are one of the stickiest applications ever in crypto. Like people trust a wallet and then like that's their wallet.
Isn't that amazing? Of all the things that could be where you're like, I'm going to die on this hill. Like, no, I just really enjoy it. I mean, I first used MetaMask. I use MetaMask as often as I can. I know there's other ones out there now. And I'm used to Kepler now too, because, Highlander beat me over the head with it. But, it took me a while to be like, the hell is this? It doesn't look anything like MetaMask. And like, it's true. It's like Android and iPhone users, man.
That's the point, right? You had to have a friend that beat you over the head to like set up this thing. And if you don't have that, we just lose a lot of people that way. So honestly, MetaMask is probably one of the biggest things for the Cosmos ecosystem. Like that will really unlock a lot of value and help people discover the ecosystem in the first place.
I love that. No, that's really good. All right, so I'm going to go to a question real quick that I'm just curious because Reece, you kind of blew my mind here, man. You got back from vacation, you start tweeting out fire, and I was like, holy shit, I got to ask this guy about this because it's funny. And I was laughing with Highlander about this before either of you joined, so it was just Rob and I here chatting, and I was like, I was looking at Jake's Twitter profile, and it's like interchain maximalist, and I switch over to Reece's Twitter profile, and I'm not sure about the interchain long term, and I was like, holy God, you couldn't even see two sides of this any more differently in 30 seconds than I've ever seen in my life. So, Reece, what did you do on vacation, man? Were you like in a hut doing shrooms? What the hell happened, man?
No, I did a lot of hiking. So, I was away from the computer and, just thinking about it. And, I did not word my tweet in the way I probably should have. I clarified it later, but I'm bearish on the current interchain of execution. I'm bullish on the idea of interchain, long term in terms of actual applications, actual building. And that's probably a much better way to put it. So
there you go.
That was a mistake on my end of like the way I worded it. I've had, like 4 or 5 calls, like just in the past 24 hours with people, talking with this. So far, most have agreed with me on a majority of the points that I'm still trying to think of the best way to word it, either for a Medium article or something along those lines. So like, I think that most Cosmos chains today, I don't know if this is, a controversial take, but I think most should fail, to be honest. They don't have product market fit. They're there. Validators keep coming in and setting it. And at the end of the day, if no chains ever die, like there's like, this isn't a real like true business, there's no way to like, this is all just, something that people are trying to just throw together in hopes of making more money. And if this is just an entire FOMO space, I think that's incorrect. Like we should have lots of chains for specific applications. That's the whole point of Cosmos. But That doesn't mean chains for just the sake of just having a chain just because we want it, and having 0 users and dumping a token on the users that do get it. So that's kind of where that tweet comes from.
So, yeah.
In that
so the
aspect.
economics of like what's presently happening with people starting chains and having,
the economics, the lack of management, and then also from the people that are managing, the mismanagement there. And I think that all these 3 things together, like more chains do need to fail. Like there's some great, applications out there, like for other chains, Kajira, we got Stargaze, we got other great chains, but what are these other networks doing that are still being validated and wasting all these resources? I think validators' time is better spent in other places. And that's just kind of where I think, of course, it's free market, validators can do what they want. But I don't think that that's the ethos of Cosmos is let's just validate everything just for the sake of validating it.
Well, and that kind of goes back to Jake's point, doesn't it? On mesh drops and like you get in through somebody that's more established, they kind of help you come up versus anybody just, starting an app chain and being like, no, look, we like cats, come get cats and you can make money or, whatever the hell that it is. But here's my other thing too with that. When I saw you read that, and I know that it was not what you meant, so I appreciate you clarifying that. I've had this conversation with Highlander and other people going back a long time where it's like it's hard to move yourself away from Bitcoin and Ethereum at times and go, look, Bitcoin and Ethereum own so much of the liquidity. And Jake, you talked about it a lot in one of your talks in the last month where it's like, let's just go back to where there's liquidity or go back to, if you have liquidity, then you're at risk. And, is it worth it or not? I'm just going to go develop on Ethereum, even though Solidity is inferior technology. So like you have these weird competing thoughts in the back of your head. But then, Jake, I heard you say, like, look, there's no way we'll ever hook up directly or link in with Ethereum because it's inferior technology. That Solidity is inferior to what's being developed over here. So,
I've written some Solidity. I've actually written some Solidity in the last couple weeks, and it reminds me of how inferior it is as a technology. But I'm actually a closet ETH maxi, and one of the highest priorities for me is connecting to Ethereum, right? And it doesn't matter if Solidity is Solidity is not as good of tech in terms of smart contracts as like Cosmosm or WebAssembly smart contracts. But I think the Ethereum ecosystem is quite rich in terms of like culture, in terms of like well-established products, and in terms of liquidity. So like it's one of my high. I think one of our priorities for Juno is like connect to as many new chains as possible, and part of that involves pushing the boundaries of what's capable with the tech stack at the moment. So I really agree with like Reece on all his points. Like I'm definitely like bearish on a lot of things in Cosmos, right? But I'm still interchain maximalist because I'm excited. I think interchain is the future paradigm, and the moment interchain is the future paradigm, that's when we connect Ethereum to IBC. It's gonna happen. It's going to happen. How long that's gonna take? I'm not gonna put a time estimate on that, but it's gonna happen, and we're gonna do our best to like make it happen. And just as we're pushing the boundary with like connecting to Polkadot, I think that's something that we can do as a chain. It'd be an experimental cutting edge chain that tries out the technologies to like connect to these other chains over IBC as soon as they're even feasibly ready. That means being early adopters, and I'm happy to be there. But they're like I'll still like say like hot takes on Solidity. Even though I got my start as a Solidity developer, I wrote my first line of Solidity in like 2016. So I respect everything the Ethereum ecosystem has built. Like all these concepts, like all of Cosmos is basically just like copying ideas from Ethereum for the most part. I mean, like I feel like with DAO we've like actually pushed the boundaries in terms of like we support features that no Ethereum DAO tool has, but that's how it should be. We should be building on top of like the base level of innovation that's already happening. And to me, like I think the most important thing for the interchain to happen is to connect to Ethereum and we have to bring IBC to Ethereum and L2s. I know multiple teams that are already working on this, and so the ball is in motion and it's going to happen, and I'm super, super excited for that. And so I can hold those two contradictory beliefs at the same time. I can think that WebAssembly is a better virtual machine for smart contracts, and I can think that's the future, and that's the future tech stack. I can think that Cosmos uh, uh,
Oh no. Oh no.
philosophy of or the Cosmos values of sovereignty and interoperability, ETH maxi, and think like, and I know that's a hot take, right? But yeah, it's gonna happen. We're gonna connect ETH to the interchain, and that's one of the most important things on like my personal.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got 90% of what you just said there, Jake. There was some drop out in the middle, maybe that dog or something in the background. I don't know what it was. We were just kind of rolling over, but I get your point. It's not like you can only be one thing and you have to die on that hill, and that's all it was, right? So it makes perfect sense to me. What when I heard about what you were talking about in terms of the future and the interchain incubator, the thing that really came to mind to me is I don't know how many app chains or how many chains in Cosmos would pass the Howey test, but I know for sure that Juno would, meaning that under no circumstance is Juno really going to ever be the, hey man, you're security, because as you've said a lot, it was not launched with the with the intention of profit, right? It was launched. There was no VCs, there was nobody doing that. It's probably one of the safest chains for external developers to come in and mess around on. Am I wrong in that?
I think it's definitely. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to comment on that stuff, right? But
Yeah.
like, I think it's definitely one of the most exciting things about Juno is that we're kind of the most radical chain in terms of this, right? And I think that's why it will still have life, right? That actually these things are really important, and Juno is a chance to try some radical experiments in like decentralized governance. And I know sometimes people wish it was run more like a company, right? But we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The cool thing about Juno is that there's probably an argument that like, I don't know, it probably depends who the SEC chair is, but if they're making a list of chains to come after, like Juno could probably throw up like the best defense of like being like a non-security than like all the other chains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like whether or not it might still be one, right? But like definitely could throw up a much better defense of Juno in that regard. And we should keep pushing that boundary. So we're working on like really like fundamental governance reform. Like I'll lay it out. Like I want to dissolve core one. I want to have a new like governance structure with the sub-DAOs. We are working on this with the Constitution and with the working group. It's probably not happening as fast as people want, but like, it's these are kind of things we want to be thoughtful about, right? We want to have like a really well-established, good plan before we like just like rush into like a whole reorg, right?
Sure.
So like,
Sure.
This is part of the effort of like the Juno constitutions. So that means like we're going to be one of the first chains of the constitution. There's going to be like a very large restructuring. So core one will like cease to exist, and in its place will be a new entity that's we're trying to figure out the best name for. Council or like the Juno board is like kind of the working title. I like Juno Council. Its membership will be comprised of elected leaders from the various different sub-DAOs. So we have like, we're kind of actually taking more of a corporate structure, right? We have like a council, which is a sub-DAO of the Juno community. And then under that, we have more of the different department sub-DAOs. And under the department sub-DAOs, if they get big enough, something like communications, for example, could have like an events sub-DAO, like a PR sub-DAO, a marketing sub-DAO, a video sub-DAO, an education sub-DAO, like however many they want, right? But we're trying to create like a bit more structure in place there. And another really cool, important aspect we're adding is this council is really going to manage like the budgets for all the sub-DAOs. And importantly, we're going to leverage DAO for this, and we're going to allow for the Juno stakers to be able to veto council proposals. So when a proposal passes the council, there'll be like a 10-day period where like any Juno staker could like challenge that proposal and throw up a veto proposal. This is an unprecedented like I think already like I know that we've not made like always like the best like decisions with like core one or whatever. A lot of it's also like just hard times, right? Dealing with really fucking difficult situations, but I'm not like I'm not like apologizing or like trying to make an excuse, right? But we were the first chain to like have Core One be a sub DAO of the main chain.
Yeah.
All in bits.
Yeah.
ICF, people have tons of frustrations with those. There's nothing they can do to revoke the treasuries of those groups. There is nothing they can do to replace the membership of those groups. And in Juno, like we have those powers that are given to the community. And so I think the next level one is going to be this like veto ability, right? The idea of the councils is meant to be very slow moving because it's like working with like a large budget, and it should fundamentally be like aligned with the community. So that's why, you know, the veto power will exist. And then for the sub DAOs, each of the sub DAOs will get a vested budget. So they're not going to get all the money at once. It'll be vested. And then that'll be like kind of at their discretion. If you think about it, like the sub DAOs are meant to move fast. Like when someone gets a grant to like build a, like make a video or, you know, build some open source software, right? Like they don't want to be waiting for like 3 weeks for like a proposal to pass, right? We need the sub DAOs to like be able to like move fast and quickly and make decisions within their discretionary budgets, right? And then the council that really holds like the majority of the funds has like this community oversight. So the council moves slow, the sub DAOs move fast is kind of what we're trying to go for.
I like that. It's like when people say that America is a democracy. It's actually a representative republic. You elect someone to then do that shit for you. We don't vote on everything. But no one really ever talks about that. It's the same concept. Is I trust Highlander to communications to handle communications. You got 10 grand, go do it.
We have to delegate, otherwise this will never scale, right? And we just have to like accept the fact that we don't want to vote on everything. And I think that there's way too much voting in Cosmos. And another thing we're working on at DAO is like different types of voting less systems. Governance systems where you never have to vote. Those are the best ones. Like one of the things I'm sick of is parameter changes. Like, oh, what should the community tax be? Should it be 2% or 5% or 10%? Or like trying to pick what should the inflation be? Should it be like, you know, everyone's like, we spend all this energy arguing over stupid numbers. What if everyone could just set their preference for what the number should be? And then dynamically, we take a weighted average of all those preferences, depending on their stake. And then we use the weighted average to set the actual value. And you can change your vote at any time. No one has to put up a prop for it. Like you could be like, I think inflation should be 0%. And then Highlander could be like, I think it should be 10%. And then maybe you have a conversation with Highlander and you think 3% is the new value. So you update your preference. And then I think these kinds of systems could be like much more dynamic for many types of chain governance. And guess who is the chain that's like actually crazy enough to like try out fucking new ideas like this? Is Juno.
Yeah. So it's kind of like we're gonna run, we're gonna sprint, we're gonna try new things. Occasionally, we're gonna run to a few walls. But you know, price of progress.
I think people just have to expect that as part of the process, like right? Like not everything succeeds, and if you expect that, like you create this culture of like people afraid to do anything, and that's not what we want. That's not what we want. We want people to like experiment, and some of those experiments are going to be wildly successful, and some of them are going to fail. But as long as they're like not too big of failures where they like take down the entire chain or like all the projects in the ecosystem, like as long as they're like confined failures and as long as we learn from them, that's an important part, that we acknowledge that like mistakes were made and that we like make plans to like move forward and evolve. That's how evolution happens. And like the idea that everything should just be like perfected, well, like, yeah, great. That's just going to lead to a really boring and non-experimental culture. And I think that the opportunity with Juno is not that we will get everything right. We definitely won't. But, you know, as long as we don't fuck up too badly, like we should be fine. We should be fine. We just got to keep moving forward. We got to keep experimenting. We got to not be afraid to change things. And I think that opportunity is still here, and that we still have this like, in many ways, the bear markets are great for this, right? Because if everything was still like $2.5 billion Juno, everyone would be like, oh, we got to just leave things as they are, right?
Right.
But now we're like experimenting, you know, with like fees, we're experimenting with all these things. Some of the experimenting might be like, might upset people. They just want a core, you know, sometimes at the end of the day, people just want a king, right? They just want someone to like tell them what to do. People have asked that of me.
Yeah.
And I think that it's fundamental of Juno culture, especially for decentralization, like we've been talking about with relation to SEC and all that stuff. Like if we want to be meaningfully decentralized, we have to solve the hard problems. And the hard problems are operating like an L1, a permissionless L1 as a DAO. But if we can do it, and I think we have a better chance than most, there's still a big if there. If we can do it, I think that's a huge opportunity. I still do. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Juno. And if for some reason it fails, well, guess what? The community people here, they can't die. We're still friends. We'll take our learnings and we'll start a new project.
Yeah.
Like the community can't die.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And you know, to that end, I wanted to ask you this. I want to ask Reece this. I want Rob to talk about this as well. I'm sorry, Highlander. I keep fucking doxing you. I've done it before though, man. I'm sorry. My bad. Nobody knows his last name. Yeah. When you don't want to have a king, you don't want to, do things that are unilateral. You got to go through the hard development discussions. And I agree with that. I think everyone would agree that the current DAO voting on, whether or not we should order fucking pizza or Chinese today is really stupid. But, the big things need to be voted on and other things don't. Ironing that out makes a big difference. But the king, the council, I like where that's going. I want to ask this question because I know you guys don't have a tremendous amount of time, but if it were King Jake, and I know it's not, so you're going to kick against this right away, but if you were looking at this, what is success for Juno a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? You say the incubator, and look, I understand what you mean by that. I understand because I think of like incubators for businesses, or hey, try this concept out here, and then we'll fund you and move you forward. I think what most people really want to know is where you see this going, Reece, where you see it going, and Highlander, and like, how does that reflect back value to those of us who have been loyal, that have been sitting here and going, look, the reason why I'm still here, you guys can check my account, a lot of you guys know it, I haven't sold shit. Okay, I restake every time because I believe in the people, and that's mainly from Highlander and those who I've met along the way. So I believe in you guys more than I believe in necessarily what's going on, and that's where my loyalty has been so far, even though it's the first time I'm talking to two of the three of you. So a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, if everything goes the way that you anticipate, Jake, where are we?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to. My headphones died because, whatever. I hope you still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think where are we? Well, guess what? We've created a lot of data with the Juno chain. Who are the holders? Who are the true believers? Unlike in the past, when like we have all the data there for all to see, right? And I think my vision for Juno is that Juno, and I think this will happen, right? Like, I think Juno still has like a really decent life in it, but I think there's a really, really good potential that Juno spins out a project that's orders of magnitude bigger, And then guess what? That's great for Juno, because the people that are part of Juno, the people that might have like, potential like, I don't know, token ownership of that project, the people that might be targeted for like a mesh drop or like some option drop. I haven't talked about option drops yet, but I'm really excited about option drops. Or an airdrop, an old school airdrop. Guess what? We have all the data there. People can analyze the Juno chain, and you know what? We're making lists. Reece has this wonderful indexer, and it's like we're like making lists. Who are the good people? Who are the people that got the whale allocation of Juno and then just have been like selling from the beginning? Who are the people that like have held? Like, who are the people that actually use dApps? Who are the people that tried Fortis? Who are the people that tried DAO? Who are like, we are creating this amazing data set, right? And then like, to me, win condition is like, yeah, I think that Juno could be this really powerful interchain DAO that incubates tons of projects and mesh secures like the interchain. Like, I think it could be, you know, a hub, frankly.
Yeah.
But even if that it doesn't manage to achieve that, I'm 100% convinced that DAO will spin or that Juno will spin out a project that is largely successful because this community has like actually some really strong developers behind it. I mean, yeah, it's kind of true. And right now there's not like a ton of money to like pay people. We've had some people that like, as like the price of Juno has gone down and people's like, out like we've had some people that have walked away, but they remember the fun times, right? They remember what it was like, when times were good, and like those people will come back.
Sure.
They will. And if they like, I'm just like convinced that like the only thing Juno needs to do is just like survive, continue to experiment, be on the cutting edge, do things the Cosmos Hub or any other Cosmos chains would never do, like giving up power from the core team. Like, these are big challenges, but they're also big opportunities, right? And the main thing is incubator for the interchain. And don't forget that Juno incubated DAO, and we're not fucking done. And I think that maybe that could be an interesting thing, right? Like, who knows?
Sure.
I'm not promising anything, but like the fact is, if Juno incubates like even one project that's larger than Juno, it was all worth it.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Good point completely. Reece, let me tweak that question for you a little bit because I know you're doing a ton of the back end work here. Maybe the next 6 months to a year, what would be like if everything goes well and you're integrating like you like, when you get excited about what can happen with Juno in the next, maybe a little more short-term future, what gets you jazzed right now?
Yeah, so for me, I enjoy building up the infrastructure that helps build applications. So I think, there's two different things. We need to build generalized infrastructure that allows app developers to not have to write everything from scratch.
Yeah.
A lot of things a lot of infrastructure is written for a certain aspect, and you have to like completely fork it and rewire the whole thing to work for your use case, which is very similar, but like slightly different. So my thing, with modules that I write or infrastructure that I'm writing is to write not just for Juno. Like, of course, we're going to be the first ones that get to use it, experiment with it, get ideas back from teams that are building. But then to expand that to the interchain and to allow other application developers, whether that be on, our competitors like Neutron and Archway, Huawei Chain, like whatever you're on, building those environments, making that easy to, experiment on locally with very quick block times, things like that, and scaling up Cosmos so we can actually take an influx of users, like from the Ethereum side for like MetaMask users. Like if all those MetaMask users come over today and try to use every single chain, like, split apart, every single chain would go down. We don't have the infrastructure for that. So that's something I'm trying to work on with, other teams. I have a call later today with the Atom Accelerator DAO, trying to like push these things where we've built products that people want for other chains. They're currently only on Juno. How can we expand that out to others as well? So like Juno will benefit from this because we're going to be first to market with it. We're already, seeing people use our applications. And already pulling it to other areas in the ecosystem as well. So I'm trying to raise everything up, as well as, hey, Juno's the first one because we see this problem before anyone else has seen it or even knows that they need this yet, and we're pushing that out there. So from the infrastructure side, that's what I'm working on. But we still, of course, need more app developers and things like that. So I'm working on documentation. We'll be working with someone here in the next month to focus on documentation and onboarding from Web 2 to Web 3, how to teach you, hey, maybe you know some programming language. Here's how to learn it this way. Here's how Cosmos works. Here's some examples. And here are all the resources that I personally had to find over the past 2 years. And here's where you're going to use each one of those, and try to onboard someone much quicker than, 6 to 12 months. Like, let's try to get that down to like 3 and, bring it faster for developers onboarding.
Have you heard of Quiver? AI Quiver?
I think I have heard of it. I think I've looked at it, but I've not gone into it too much.
Yeah, so you're just kind of making my like brain like tingle a little bit because it's a way to like kind of create a custom AI brain with like, you can teach it what you want, and then people can go and like query your brain and be like, hey, I tried this. Well, here's the methodology I came through to get to that point, and here's other things you can look at. When you talk about that like speed to onboarding, that's where my brain immediately goes. Like AI, I think in a lot of situations right now, we're just way overblown. It's just so sexy. Everyone's like, oh man, AI, oh, it's gonna be amazing. But there's some things like that. And one of my other developer buddies, Ataxia, who's on the phone or on the show with me all the time, uses it for his entire collective, where it's like, hey, put everything into Quiver. We can go query it, and we'll help build our projects that way. Just an idea. I don't know if you guys thought about that.
So AI is a big part of my job for the past 2 years. I've been using it to program. I've already been utilizing it, before ChatGPT came out. I use that now for like helping me to write better and to gather data quicker, as well as you pair that with like some scripting and AI's API. Like I'm doing all of those different things. So that'll be a big part of their documentation. The issue right now is that a lot of documentation is very fragmented. So you have to go find the articles in the first place, or even know where to go look. And like, I thankfully I know where most of those things are, but new people don't. And so just having a collective resource of all of those things is super important. And then we can build AI off of that, go query that data. And so like, this is somewhere I'm working on. I want this to be scalable. I want it to be quick, and whatever resources that we have to use or creating new resources, that's where I'm interested in. So we have a working group of like 15 people that are excited to help with documentation. It's been lacking because I've been trying to get this upgrade out for here the past couple months. So I'm looking forward to being able to focus on that onboarding and bringing Cosmos to the next level in terms of onboarding.
No doubt. Now, when you say 15 people working on that, are you talking about 1337 or kind of something you're doing on your own?
No, this is my own thing on the side of developers that understand, like they've got certain areas where whether they know CosmWasm, smart contracts, they know NFTs, they know node operations, they know validating. We've got a group of those IBC. We've got a group of those people, and they've helped contribute ideas or things that they would like to see documentation on. But again, right now it's just a massive to-do list. I've got to get in and go work on actually writing these articles. Once the next upgrade is out, my focus is switching over to that way that I can get 3 to 4 articles out a day, and will be a massive help to future developers of like, we had no idea that this was even possible. A lot of the things I've already written just in a quick time frame, and they're like, we didn't know we could do this. And it's, drastically reduces the overhead for developers. And we need to make sure that those things are easily abundant and clear, that developers know, and not just the people working on like the lower level SDK things. That's important.
Cool. No, I like it. Jake, real quick, because it just made me think of it when Reece just brought that up. The 1337, I had Jack Zamplin on twice, actually, a year and a half ago, and he talked about starting the Cosmos development fund for just like all of Cosmos to kind of handle what Reece was just talking about. Like, even if we got the users that we wanted, we couldn't even handle it. That's not 1337. That's something different, right? If you still there.
Yeah, 1337. Yeah, 1337 or Elite Society is it's a little bit different, but I think one of the things that I've learned is that this space moves so fast, it's hard to even do documentation.
Yeah.
Because by the time you do all the work to do the documentation, it's already kind of changed. Best practices have already on CosmWasm Twitter, and follow like me and Larry and Zeke, and like passes through those like social networks, if you will. See that learns together and grows together and builds together. And I do hope that that community will also help document some stuff as well. So in fact, we just started a new forum. It's called interchain.builders. Again, interchain.builders. And we've convinced a lot of like, the cool Cosmos projects to join. So we got Doubt, we got Abstract OS, which is a super awesome product and tool for developers to build on. We have Croncat, we have Leap Society, we have a few others. But we're trying to make that a really great forum for like kind of just having these like discussions about what are the best ways to do things. And then Lead Society is really just about building this culture of peer-to-peer learning and peer-to-peer building, because that's, I think, how people learn the most. And then once there are best practices that have like really solidified, then we can write up like documentation about it. And maybe some apprentices from Lead Society that are just learning, maybe they'll, take up documentation tasks to prove and demonstrate their knowledge. So
Yeah.
I would argue it's different, but it's like sort of related. I do think that the best way to build a developer community is just by building a community and then having that peer-to-peer knowledge and that like sort of like social network where people can ask questions, people can like, post like bugs they might get in a forum and get like some really good answers. So yeah, I think all that will be super helpful.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
but the main thing I'm really interested in Lead Society is like incubating cool projects. And we've got some investment funds, just private investment funds that are very, very interested in the output of Lead Society, which I think is great. Lead Society is just a club, it's just a society, but it'd be really great to, be able to, you know, fund that talent to build really cool interchain products
Yeah.
and starting on.
Well, the funny thing about that too is I wanted to give you props, and I haven't done it yet because you're the only voice I've really heard talking about bringing the interchain together like aggressively. That we got to stop being so counter to each other and work together. And it sounds like Lead Society 1337 building things together across different protocols, different people doing different things. That makes a lot of sense to me that you build things together. People have, shared outcome syndrome. I don't know. If you do well, I do well. And I saw you talk about that recently as well. Um, the idea behind like token swaps and like, shared security, mesh security, whatever it is, do you think that has to happen for, Cosmos to take that next step?
I think it has to happen for the interchain to take the next step. I think Cosmos is a bit like, I think Cosmos is a really cool word, but it's been a little bit tarnished with
Yeah, I'm
like how
sorry.
this
I screwed that
ecosystem
up.
has behaved.
I meant interchain, but yes, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, no, I'm happy to go on a little rant. I think that Cosmos has not been very collaborative at all. Everyone's reinventing the wheel, and people actually need to hang out with an Ethereum culture a little bit more and realize that there's a lot to learn from them. Sure, we're all going to be like competing on some level, right? There's going to be different dexes. There's going to be different DAO toolings. There's going to be different like NFT launch platforms, right? But at the end of the day, people judge us as an ecosystem, and we like thrive or die as an ecosystem. And everyone is just like determined to look at the cosmos and they see the like winner takes all scenarios all over. Like there can only be one. There can only be one. And this is actually just I think a big lie. But it's also a symptom of like the fact that we don't have economic coordination mechanisms at the heart of Cosmos, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and that's really what mesh security is for me. Yes, there's security, right? We have better economic security. That's important. But to me, it's all about how can we tie this ecosystem together a little bit more so that it doesn't always have to be like, winner takes all kind of like language and dynamics. Like, and everyone's just like fighting for the same ever growing, like ever shrinking group of devs or whatever. And everyone's just spreading bad vibes on Twitter, which just like people just judge the whole ecosystem, right? Like
They do.
You might be like a neutron maxi or whatever, and like you spread bad vibes about like, all the other chains. Like and none of this is Juno specific, right? Like this is just a symptom of the whole Cosmos ecosystem. And it's creating bad vibes, and developers like just don't enjoy working here. They don't fucking enjoy all the like mindless drama. They
Yeah.
don't no one wants to come join this ecosystem when we act like that. People are acting like fucking children, and
Yeah.
like it's just like, what did you expect? Like, and I think that the idea of the interchain won't die, but this kind of current implementation with like Cosmos, who knows? Like, I think the interchain will continue to evolve. IBC will continue to evolve. And like, I think that we really just need to like grow up a little bit. In Ethereum, for example, like there is many different competing protocols, right? But they're all tied together by like the ETH token. So it's kind of co-opetition. There's still competition, right? But they're all like can agree that there's like a thing that we should cooperate on. And I think that we need something similar in Cosmos. I feel that mesh security is probably the economic mechanism for that to happen, right? Because then, Osmo and Juno can kind of like team up, and we can have we can form alliances. And if we have alliances and shared economic outcomes, we might still be competing on small things, but that there's this larger ecosystem, this larger thing that we are all vested in and that we all benefit from if it succeeds. And that would be a little bit more healthy. I'm not saying not have competition, but we definitely need to work together a lot better.
Sure. No, I appreciate that too. I think that anyone who's invested, staked, whatever here wants to see that. Highlander, I see you clapping your hands, and I didn't go to you on the next bit here, but your communication. So, I mean, I guess you can talk to me a bit about that side of it. What are you doing to make sure people know about this stuff, apart from coming on great streams like my own? What else is the comms team doing to kind of get this word out, to kind of, to plant the flag in the ground that Jake and Reece are saying here about how we can all grow together?
First of all, Jake answered quite a good lot of points there. I think the vision in Juno short term would be, roll out mesh security and then form alliances that way, because there's a use case for Juno across, we can be the incubator, okay, right? So we launched DAO. DAO's come out. DAO's flourishing now into other chains. Mesh security enables Juno stakers to get a part of that if another project launches another chain. Do you know what I mean? So there's flow back and forth. Now, the cool thing about mesh security, which we were chatting to Ethan about as well, is it's omni. Do you know what I mean? It's not just one way. It can be back and forth. It's a lot. It's really cool, man. And I can't wait to get more content recorded from these guys. But off the back of that, then I want to just mention, I want to get the vision of Reece, the vision of Jake, the vision of all the developers on Juno, so we can sing from the same hymn sheet and put it out there as one big bit of information. So recently I'm trying to unite all the different Juno communities. There's some in Greece, there's Spain, there's Brazil, there's quite a lot actually around the world. And just kind of as Juno Communications becomes a hub of information straight from the top, and we kind of break all that down and share that alpha, we've got a design part of the communication sub-DAO. Big shout out to Design DAO, they're fucking amazing, man. And we can put out good graphics. We sort of create this brand of Juno, and we just put the word out there a lot better. I mean, we want to get a global community outreach going, you know what I mean? Key focus would be, reaching out to Juno communities worldwide, like I say, and just aligning efforts, and, that's it. We've got a narrative set and start pumping it out. But first of all, we need this new website to be completed, because it's going to be a total revamp. We want it to be a hub for everyone to go. We touched on it 6 months ago, that Juno needs an application or a site where you can just go and do everything you need to do in Cosmos in one place.
Yeah.
A hub. And
yes.
Juno could be that, you know what I mean? There's loads going on. We're trying to get some support as well. I'm working in my old day job at the moment, and times are difficult, but we're here for a fucking reason. We believe in it, you know what I mean? And like I said, man, if it wasn't for Jake and Reece and Damian, a few others in that core one, I wouldn't be here. I just would not be here. I'm still around, and it's worth fighting for. So yeah, that I see Juno. Think about it like Jake said in a Twitter space the other day. Don't think 5 years. Think more short term. 6 months, we're going to restructure governance a little bit better. DAO's pushing out some amazing things. I was doing something with Noah the other day, and I will say this on this stream, our sub-DAO potentially is going to be the very first sub-DAO to actually do an on-chain governance vote proposal very shortly. We're just testing that out at the moment. We're completely pioneering DAO infrastructure and governance. It's quite incredible. You can have a project idea, Jared, and you can just literally go to DAO, and it gives you everything you need to get going with your project. It's amazing. And yeah, we just want to put that word out there more.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And look, I appreciate the candor you've all kind of offered here today, and hot takes and interchain versus not, and all that. I guess my challenge would be is, I was sold pretty early on you guys, even though I didn't know you, but just watching what was done quickly in the communications team and Camel and some of the other guys. I think that the biggest challenge that you have, just to offer an unsolicited opinion, is communications. Because Reece, it sounds like you're doing some cool shit, man. but I don't really know what that means. Okay. Like, you got to help me get excited about that. And Jake, like you talking about a lot of this stuff with, Cosm Wasm modules and what that can mean for not having to upgrade. And I basically understood what you meant, but I really don't know what the hell that means. Like I kind of do. You don't have to upgrade every time a new, whatever comes out. And I'm like, okay, I could see that being exciting if you were in that world, but I don't really get it. So I guess my challenge or question, I don't know if you have a comment on it, like, how do you help those of us that are interested in helping others realize how cool the shit is that you're doing, stay up to date and be excited about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the Juno community needs to evolve our governance structures. Like we should actually fund communications now, right? Because we have like a very large volunteer effort at the moment, and if we give people, vested Juno or whatever, we have to figure out the terms, right? Like that's really valuable work. I would also argue that devs should not do communications. Yeah, I could spend all my time on interviews, and the time I spend doing interviews is time not spent building like fucking mesh security
Yeah.
or like trying to create like a vision for like Juno governance or like working on DAO or like mentoring devs in Lead Society. Like that's how I should be like allocating my time, and like I mean Reese as well. We have to like spend our time like building, and so like definitely needs to build out. I hear you. We definitely need to build out the communications infrastructure.
And it doesn't have to be crazy, Jake. Just like help plebs like me be like, all right, they're doing cool shit. Then people ask me what about, and I'm like, I don't know, but you should go listen to their talk. It sounded really interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're right. Quite frankly, yeah. As someone who's deeply vested, I want you guys working on this stuff too, for my own bag's sake, if nothing else. But like, how do you fix that?
I think to me,
I think to me, it like all comes down to like governance reform, right? And making communications DAO like a first-class citizen. In this new structure, again, leaders from the various different sub-DAOs will be part of the council. So there will be someone from the communications DAO on the council. That's like effectively like someone from communications DAO, like on core one, to use a metaphor, even though it's going to be different, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be some fresh blood. There will be probably some like carryover, like, Max is great. Like we still have a lot of great people, but it's important to like, bring in some fresh blood, make sure that every sub-DAO has a representative on that council, if only for cross sub-DAO coordination, right? Because communications is exactly like the kind of sub-DAO that needs to be looped in with what development is doing,
That's
right?
right.
Development should just be focused on development and not necessarily like, okay, now we have to like do all these Twitter spaces and like do all these different podcasts and like, and we can definitely do some of that, right? But like, communications, yeah, sure. Communications is like, a big part of like scaling that, right? So to me, it all comes down to just like governance reform and like infrastructure. Like that's how we like move forward as a community. That's how we move forward as a community. That's how we move forward as Juno. Is we have to like kind of and it's not something that happens overnight, but we have like a draft of the Constitution. I think we're getting pretty close. It's like, and then we just got to pull the trigger and do it and restructure ourselves and make sure that like the community values that we're making an investment here. We have to invest in our people. We have to like, it's amazing that Juno is still going, right? Like, because it's been nothing but like downward price pressure, and that gets people bummed out. And then there's a lot of negativity that also gets people bummed out. So when it, like, it's kind of a vicious cycle. A lot of it's macro too, right? But
No doubt.
at the end of the day, we have to just do our best job to like self-organize and like make some meaningful changes, and make sure that we are like funding the people that are bringing value to the network. And that's also not just devs. I think that's a big thing with the governance reform is like core one is like a development fund, and we did our thing for a while. It needs to change, right? Like it's like mistakes have been made and it's not the end of the world, right? We just have to, as long as we learn from them, as long as we actually make the changes, that's what people need to see, right? And then if we can get people to start believing in Juno again, like Juno is fundamentally a community that like thrives on the strength of its community. And again, some of this is macro, but we have a lot of good things coming to Cosmos. We have MetaMask coming to Cosmos. We have DYDX coming to Cosmos. we're going to be we're going to be like perhaps the first chain to connect, like the first OG chain to connect to Polkadot. Like how exciting is that?
That's cool.
And so if we can like start getting people like that's how we can like easily like shift momentum again, right? We've been in this like downward slope, and we're not the only project, right? Like every like OG project in Cosmos is kind of in the same place, right?
Yep.
But how do we get out of it? It's governance reform. It's you know, basically like figuring out how to take care of our people, and uh yeah, and then the rest will follow. Like
Look, I agree. I think it's a good point. It sounds like, given what I've heard Jack say in the past, what I hear you saying now, UI, UX, communications, something that most people generally overlook. Hopefully we don't on this next iteration. And it makes it easier for people to come in. I will die. Like you say, you plant your flag in the ground. I'll plant my flag in the ground that I think people that pick up and try crypto for the first time should only try the interchain, because it's the most easy to understand once you understand the basics. From a security perspective, they should start here and then maybe try out other shit, because it is more easy to comprehend if that's all you know first. Okay, I'm not talking about other stuff, but if the first thing you learn is the interchain, I think it's the right place to go. Hopefully, we can get that action coming in for newbies as well. Guys, this has been outstanding for me. I don't want to keep you up from developing and doing the things that matter. Now, see, look, now you made me feel better. Like, I got to do bullshit like this. I talk to you. I should be writing code.
I did not mean it loud.
I know you did.
You're great. I think it's important to do these kind of interviews as well. So it's like it's a balance, right? Like so but
No,
I think that there's a lot of, like, just to summarize, I think there's a lot of future here, and there's still exciting things about Juno, right? There's still things that actually make Juno really unique even in all of crypto.
Yeah.
And
that's worth fighting for.
that's worth fighting for. And then also, like I said, like who knows how long this bear market will last?
Yeah.
It might last years, right?
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, this group of people, the core group of developers that have come together with Juno, the community of Juno, and again, we can see the ledger. We ran an amazing experiment. We see how everyone behaves. Like,
Yeah.
this community can't die, or if it dies, it'll be reborn, and it'll probably
Yeah.
be even better.
Yeah, for sure.
And all it takes is like incubating one project that's even larger than Juno, and that's still a success case. It is an experiment that is worth trying, and and that's not like, it's not to say that we haven't made mistakes in the past. We totally have, but we can be open about the fact that we make mistakes, and then just like learn from them and evolve, and that's what we're gonna do. It's like this
Yeah.
this chick can't die,
Yeah.
and even if it dies, it'll
Become the Phoenix instead of Juno. Yeah, it's the Phoenix chain, rise from the dead. I know, I love it. It's a good point, Jake, and I appreciate you coming out too. I was just giving you a hard time. I know you were talking about me specifically.
yeah, no, I mean, it's a real thing to talk about, but it's another thing is like Juno is amazing in that it runs in a very decentralized way, but it's like there's only so far you can get with like kind of volunteer effort, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of people have been making sacrifices because of the bear market, and that's great, but people do get burnt out, right? Especially if
Yeah.
it's also like nonstop negativity on top of things, like it's
I think that this is all.
but I think that this is all,
This
Yeah.
too will pass.
temporary. This
Yeah.
too will pass. Nothing lasts forever, and that includes bear markets, right? And again, like, this community has like tried some like pretty bold experiments, and not everything's gone like perfectly according to plan. And some people will just write off the whole thing, but like I think that's the wrong approach. This community is trying things that no other Cosmos chain, and really no other chain in crypto, has ever tried. Like, and that's worth pursuing and worth doubling down on. And so I hope with the Constitution, with the reforms we're trying to push through, with the amazing fucking work that Reece is doing, like carrying like making Juno like almost like single-handedly, like by himself, like making Juno like the most cutting edge tech like Cosmos chain, and really pushing forward there. Like, if we do get some recovery, imagine how exciting this place will be.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think about. And you don't know how things are going to happen, and people should manage risk accordingly. Like, this is not investment advice, right? But it's how I see Juno. It's like we are running bold experiments in the interchain. We are questioning things and doing things that no other Cosmos chain would do. No other Cosmos chain is going to do Cosmos and modules, right? Because they all have like the golden calf or the golden cow or like the golden bull that like they refuse to sacrifice, which is the Cosmos SDK. And like we are Cosmos and maximalists, and we want to like make it so that it's easier to write custom functionality for your chain. And
I
so
love it.
Juno is pushing that forward, and we're going to keep pushing things forward. And guess what? If the community like if we make these reforms and the community supports us again, it's going to be a really strong and innovative community again, right?
No doubt.
It's just, and that's like a question for like all the people out there, like, but at the same time, I don't think it matters. Like, I think that the reality is like Juno can't be killed because like Juno is the community of people. It's people like Highlander. It's people like Max. It's people like Zeke and Noah that like built DAO. Like, yeah, people sometimes think I built DAO, but it's not true. It was like other people coming together to like build this like awesome thing, and we just have a lot of other people in the community that will also definitely come back if like we could get a handle on some of the negativity. If we could.
Yeah. It sounds like Juno, let's break shit. Juno, hashtag let's break shit. Like just figure it out. Dude, I did so probably my most popular video on YouTube was me talking about how, like, do you understand how unbelievable this could be if Juno gets this right? What Cosmosm could do if they continue innovating and shit we've never seen, but we've all want to see. And it got thousands and thousands of views because people were like, that would be cool. So I'm telling you, people like it. You know that. You just got to keep doing it. So Juno, let's break shit. There's your next campaign, Highlander.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Sounds amazing.
I can predict how that's going to go down on Twitter, and it'll probably just be like, well, it'll probably just be another FUD campaign, but whatever. Like, that's fine. Like, we're still not going away. Like, it's just like we're going to build, and people just won't get it until the price goes up, and then they'll suddenly fucking love it, right?
That's right. That's exactly what will happen.
And the fact of the matter is that like none of us can control the macro at the moment, and there's also ecosystem macro. So one of the things that we can control is just better vibes in Cosmos and better vibes in the interchain. And if we can't solve that, like Cosmos is dead.
That's right.
But long live the interchain, and maybe that like is where we'll be. But yeah, I'm still excited for the future, and I'm excited to like just keep building and keep running experiments. And maybe sometimes shit's gonna break, but that's
how it goes. All right, so my last real request is, can I get a long live the interchain from Reece? Come on. Yeah,
Yes, long live the interchain. Let's execute on it well and really leverage all the great tech that we have.
I love it. Good stuff. Guys, this has been a blast. Highlander, thank you for setting this all up. I've enjoyed speaking with all three of you, as I always have with Highlander and Jake and Reece. This has been a pleasure. Hopefully, anytime I can help with communications, meaning there's something new, I'd love to talk about it. So let's just make sure you get me the press release, Rob. Come on, damn it. Here's the reveal. Mate.
Job done. Look at that.
So this is we're looking live at a blank out. That was a place in Berlin. Looks like a alley. Swap meet. What is that?
I'll be there on Thursday.
There he is. Thank you so much, Jake, Reece, Highlander, and everybody that tuned in. I'm going to get you guys the raw recording on this. We'll turn out a more refined version too. So cheers, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.